Hello, welcome to VJ Talks Interlude. While VJ Talks Season 3 is on the horizon, it's not quite ready yet. So in the meantime, I've got a few episodes I'll be putting out between now and the return of Season 3 in Q1 of 2025. So enjoy. Hi folks, VJ from the future. I know you're going to enjoy the episode, and you'll see me again at the end of this episode, or hear me depending on where you're, watching or listening to this. But I just wanted to let you know that Hedron is going to be at PAX Unplugged, specifically with a new line of dice. And if you're watching this over on my YouTube channel, assuming I know what I'm doing when it comes to video editing, you should be seeing like some pictures of the dice right now somewhere where my hand is or around here. They look really cool. I'm really sad that I'm not going to be at PAX to grab them immediately, but lucky for me and everybody else who's not going to be at PAX, that after PAX, they will be shipping out these dice to everywhere. So start planning, start saving. I know Christmas is going to be around, but like I always say, you can never have too many dice, and you should definitely get these. Enjoy the episode. See you at the end. Hey, everybody. It's VJ Harris coming to you live. Okay, it's not actually live, but hey, everybody, it's VJ. You're either listening to this on VJ Talks, or you're watching this on VJH Creations YouTube. Either way, I'm super happy to have you here. For anybody who's new here, my pronouns are they, them, he, him, and something funny. Feel free to leave us something funny in the comments. I am a full-time professional dungeon master and TTRPG designer, and I've been doing more and more interviews with people as of late, and it's something that I was doing a lot previously in like different iterations on different episodes of Season 1 and Season 2 of VJ Talks. But without further ado, I have an amazing guest to that. Without further ado, folks, I've got an amazing person joining me today for an interview.
Hi, everyone. I'm Varun, a longtime world builder and extreme dungeon master. I built my own system from scratch, and then I took it to the next level and I built an entire virtual tabletop. Thanks for having me, VJ.
Of course. So my first question is, did you think you were going to be doing this when you were a kid? Like when you were younger, like what do I want to be when I grow up? Like what was it, and compared to what it is right now?
Oh, definitely not. Okay, I knew I was going to be a computer scientist. Like I knew that when I was really young, but I thought I was going to be a doctor at one point too. I was going the whole MD PhD route. I got pretty far down that route, and then I ended up being like, you know what? I actually really love tabletop games, and I also like tech. So here we are, building a new tool for people to homebrew and do all that fun stuff.
Excellent, excellent. So the love of the tabletop, is that something that you've always had since you were a kid? Specific, like it starts somewhere specific in your life? Because mine definitely started in my 20s when I was first introduced to it in college.
So officially, same. Like more unofficially, when I was a kid, I used to play like it wasn't like a official tabletop game, but I would kind of gather with my friends and we do what's like collaborative storytelling just without the dice. And like looking back, I'm like, wait, that was basically tabletop gaming, like in a way. It was just without the dice. But yeah, no, I jumped on board with D&D 3.5 in my like early 20s. I think I was actually 20, and then I jumped into Pathfinder from there. And then from Pathfinder, I was like, you know what? I don't like how the stats work out here. And I built my own system, and the rest is history. Then it just spiraled into everything.
Okay, so tell me more about this system and how the building of that kind of led into where we are right now.
Sure, yeah. So if you've played Pathfinder, I'm going to assume no one's played Pathfinder, but even though it's a pretty popular system, Pathfinder is a really gritty system. It has a lot of the old school elements where it's sort of like when you are rolling for, and you're doing anything, like if you just want to search a room, you're going to have this, you're going to roll a check. It's going to be a D20 plus some number on your sheet. And that number is not just a simple flat number. It's like a number plus like modifiers due to the environment, plus modifiers due to spells that are active. Like you'll see something like, 1d20 plus your 12 in perception, plus 2 because it's dark, plus 3 because you have blind sight, plus whatever. It's like this long chain of things. So it's already a gritty system. But the thing is, and this is my big critique of Pathfinder, is if you run high fantasy, if you want to run a post 10 campaign and like actually make it challenging and not just rocket tag, it's really difficult. My system is fixes that because I run hyper fantasy. I say it's sort of like I take high fantasy, I take it to the next level. Like in my world, shopkeeps cast level 6 spells. Like that's the sort of standard. Um, and
Yeah.
my spell system goes up to level 20, and it's all dark fantasy. So it's very much like my high level spells are doing things that are like scorching the skin off your enemies. Like that's how bad it is. But When you do that, you get even more of these bonuses. You know, you get like the instead of just the 12 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1, you have like a chain of like 30. So
Mhm.
like my players will roll things that are like 212 plus a d20 or something like that. Um, so you get to this point where, you know, you want a when you're doing all this heavy homebrew and you've got to the point where you have your own system where you're like, I want a platform where my players can look this stuff up, but also they have a place that does all the heavy math for them, especially for those gritty systems.
Mhm.
That's what Tabletop Mirror was originally. Like a long time ago, it was just meant to be a single platform for my specific weird flavor of Pathfinder that became less and less Pathfinder over the years. But then the more I was experimenting with Pathfinder and the more I was like, you know, I don't like this, I don't like that, and I kept changing different aspects of the system, I got to a point where I was like, okay, every time I make a change, I have to like program to fix it. And this is kind of the experience for a lot of people. I think a lot of folks right now, they go on Foundry and they're if they want to build a system, they have to do all the programming themselves,
Mhm.
which obviously for people like me, it's not too big a deal. Like it's not that big, but it's a lot more tedious than if you could just like enter a form. That was like the sort of big revelation that happened a few years ago. And that's what led to Tabletop Mirror today. Today, it's all about like filling out forms. Like, for example, if I wanted to rework my entire armor system today, it would take me 5 minutes, like tops, because I can just log in. There's no programming involved. I just change how the calculations work. Like I say, like, oh, instead of armor being 10 plus this, it's actually, you know, 5 plus whatever, whatever. And it'll propagate throughout the entire site. It's instantaneous. And then I just extended that to like every single system. If anyone wants to do whatever they want to do, they can do it. And that's sort of how we got here from that.
Okay.
Half the
Wow.
story. Half the story.
Okay. Wait, what's the other half?
The other half is while I'm doing this, I built a giant world. Like I got to a point where I homebrewed and world built so heavily, Google Docs crashed. Like I didn't know that could happen. And I looked into it. And this is a thing that happens when you get to like some thousand number of pages in your like world book, Google Docs will crash like fully.
I had
Um,
no idea that was possible either. Not that I've gotten to 1,000 pages in like one document. I'm sure there's 1,000 pages across all the stuff I've done. But okay, please continue.
no, yeah, no, I didn't know it was possible either. And so I was like, wow. And then I looked at like Obsidian at the time. I looked at World Anvil at the time. This was like 6 years ago. So I looked at like a lot of these other tools that people use. And one, I didn't, there were like different issues with all of them. Like something I liked about Google Docs is I could just have one page open and it had
Mhm.
everything, right? Like I didn't have to like jump between tabs to like
Yeah.
figure out like what's going on. Because I run open world too. So when people are in my session, you know, I have no idea what my players are going to do because it's fully open world. They want to teleport across the continent, you know, because they're level 20 something characters. They can do that. And I have to be ready to like swap like instantaneously. I can't do that if I like six different tabs open with six different like countries and things like that.
Hmm.
And so that's the other half of Tabletop Mirror is we do all the world building stuff too in the same place, which gets this really nice cohesive experience where when I'm running a session these days, I will have Tabletop Mirror open. I have one tab open, and that's more than enough because everything is so linked together. Like I create links between my pages, and I click on something, and it's like, oh, I'll go from my item that's talking about like the history of this war, and I'll be like, oh, what's that war? And I can click on the war, and it'll tell me what the war was,
Hmm.
and it's very cohesive. So that's the other half, the VTT half, and then there's the home brewing and world building half of things.
Okay, see, I think like one of my questions is definitely gonna be like, hey, what's so like different about or partly is like what's so different about this compared to like World Anvil, Obsidian, Legend Keeper, those kinds of things. Like, what did you see wrong there that you moved here? And then just giving me both halves of these stories, you've already answered that question. So first off, thank you and kudos for that. I think my kind of my next question around this then is, can you tell me a bit about like, so we talked about the process of you like of like how you got from here to there in the design, the full story of it all. But what about the process of like doing the backer kit, getting the beta out and doing all of that stuff as well? Like from a like you're putting out a product standpoint versus you're like creating the product standpoint.
That's a great question. And I actually I'm going to mention really quickly for anyone who doesn't know, Tabletop Mirror was in the works for 6 years. Our our actual public launch has been 6 months. So I'm just going to kind of cover that 6 months. Um, and it was basically, you know, I was building it for this longest time, and then eventually it was actually my girlfriend, soon to be engaged, but it's her.
Ooh.
basically pushing me out and saying, hey, put it out there. Like, why are you being perfectionist about it? And the reality was, yeah, I was just being a perfectionist. I wanted it to be like perfect. I thought that like I had to get it right from the get-go or it would never get out. And I was like trying so hard to get it and it was just kept pushing it off. So then this January this year, I kind of do New Year's resolutions. I kind of don't. And she was just like, put it out there. And I said, okay. So I put it out there. I launched in open beta within 2 weeks. So basically, I committed to like, fine, I'll do it. 2 weeks later, the open beta was out. It was end of January. And that's sort of when this whole thing started. So I'm not a businessman. I'm not like a legal person or anything. I'm a programmer, like at the heart of it. I'm just a programmer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been figuring it out as I went. And so the first few months, I would say, was like the early phase where I was trying to do it all myself. And I'm sure you know that's rough. It's so rough. Like trying to like manage social media, but also manage your community and answer things. Because I think it's really important to be connected to my community. I want to be there to like answer their questions and to be there for whatever they need, like if they have a feature request or whatever. And then there's also the actual programming part of it. Like I still have to actually update the platform. And it's just like between those three things, and then also the fact that I still have my day job because I need to pay the bills somehow.
Yeah.
It's like there's no time. I was just constantly working nonstop. So I reached out to Nine Realms. Shout out to Nine Realms if you haven't heard of them. They're a agency that works with tabletop gaming holistically. They're kind of new. They also work with Gena Gaming, which recently did Eldritch Automata. This is not a plug, but now you might get an idea of where
Yeah,
they're
that's why
from.
I was like, I feel like I recognize the name. I also I interviewed I interviewed them too. But yeah, please continue.
No, yeah. So Nine Realms are a lifesaver. So I have them do a lot of different things. And that's like sort of when I started coming to the conclusion that if I'm gonna do this, I gotta be serious about it, which
Mhm,
meant I gotta put my own like money in the line, basically. So like
mhm,
everything I've done from here on, so from like the beginning since here has been entirely funded by me, like
mhm,
as in my personal savings was being like, yeah, let's do this, let's do this. That meant working with Swole Initiative. That meant like ads. I have a person that does all of our social media, except for Discord and Reddit. I still do Discord and Reddit. But you know, I have people for a lot of different things, and it takes so much of the burden off of me. I went from like constantly doing all the things that weren't programming to being able to do mostly programming and decision making, which I feel like is pretty good. And that's kind of where we are. So like the backer kit was like this big push between me, Nine Realms, which is like 5 people at this point, plus a friend of mine who like sort of jumped on as a junior developer to help me out. And it was this mad rush, right? Like trying to get everything right, trying to get everything perfect, figuring out how to design the page and then like work with the UX people and all that. Um, but then we launched it, and I would say it's gone pretty well as of the writing, as of the moment we're recording this. I think we're at like 1,200% funded or something, which has been incredible.
Yeah, just to pull it up, folks, for anybody curious, the original goal was $2,500, and right now we're sitting at 2,000, sorry, $28,364 with Actually, I'm not going to tell you how many days are left because by the time this comes out, the backer kit's going to be over. But like, yeah, you have just wow. I because I previously looked up what the number was, but that was like when I was still when I saw the idea that we were going to be like talking to each other during Gen Con. So then, of course, coming back and like checking, like, oh wow, that was a really big number. That's why my brain was like, ooh, yeah, y'all. This I was already like gen generally impressed with what I'd seen of a tabletop mirror just from like what was sent to me, like looking at the website and all that. But it's always so I know this isn't like the hard and fast rule of things. Sometimes like crappy products do really well. But in my experience, when it's like these like smaller teams that blow up like this, it's typically like, okay, yeah, I got a feeling you've got something good in there. You're cooking in there. So first, congratulations
Thank you.
on fully like surpassing your goal. Since we're on that, actually, I'd love to like, did you think it was going to be this like big as far as like this backer kit numbers go? Like, what did you think was like a real like what did you think was a realistic goal that might have hit, assuming that you did hit the 2,500 just in general?
Yeah, so I kind of from the get-go believed that we would hit 2,500. like honest confession, it was just sort of like, with all the efforts we've put in and all the marketing we're doing and stuff, we should hit that. Like if we don't hit that, that's actually more of like a red flag, right? Like as in, wow, I put a lot of effort, but we couldn't raise this much
Yeah.
after we put like 4 times that in just ads alone. Um, so realistically, I remember actually like the day we launched our backer kit, my best friend asked me, "So, what do you think you're actually going to reach?" And I kind of thought about it and I was like, I feel like we might barely hit 20K. And obviously, as you mentioned, yeah, we still got a fair bit left. We're about, I'll say we're roughly halfway through, and we're well above 20K at this point, and it's been incredible. I'm so impressed by how far we've managed to make it, and I just like I don't have words for it. Like I keep saying it like on all my platforms, but it's like hard to portray like how impressed I am with my community and how appreciative I am for their support. It's really my community that's been there from day one. They're kind of like what keeps me going, wanting me to keep putting things out there, updating things. Because like any creator, I'm sure you've had this where it's like you kind of sit there and you wonder like, was it worth it, right? Like, am I doing something that's worth it? And it's sort of like my community is the one that tells me like, yeah, it's worth it. Like I'm using your platform. I know people who are using your platform, things like that. And over time, I think that sort of imposter syndrome, because it's a form of imposter syndrome, it's like it's been dying down a little bit, especially like as seeing this backer kit like do so well. It makes me
Mhm.
really believe that, I did have a good idea and it's worth doing. And I always kind of was going to keep doing it anyway because I use it to run my sessions, but I'm just like doubled down now on like how much I'm putting full steam into this. So
Wow. Yeah, no, that is amazing. Um, okay. I've got a question. Feel free not to share, right? But is there anything like secret going on in the works that maybe the general public um it looks like you're being very transparent about like, hey, at some point we will have a paid version, like these are the bits we're working on, you'll get announcements about this. But anything that's just kind of like a little secret in the works that you haven't trotted out yet that maybe you want to give a little sneak peek to the viewers here and listeners?
sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'll start with this. So first off, that I have a policy. So our entire tagline recently has been sort of we're built by homebrewers for homebrewers. So I've always been a policy of being very transparent. I generally say everything that comes up, like almost everything from like how we plan to commercialize to marketing to like everything we do, I'm very open about. And I'm very public about it. And this is true of my personal life too. I'm very open as a person.
Mhm.
So I don't have a lot of secrets, but there is one secret, and I will, yeah, I'll mention it because I haven't mentioned it to anyone of any sort of press yet. Obviously, my team knows about it. I will mention it here because I think by the time this comes out, we'll be okay. But you can have that special first peek, and that's we will be rebranding right after the backer kit. So some context: we acquired Rollgate about a month ago. And Rollgate is so a big play-by-post platform. So all they do is play-by-post.
Mhm, mhm,
They have 100,000 users, and so it was like a pretty big thing. And the reason we acquired them wasn't like a big business move or tactical or anything like that. Like the reality is they don't generate like a whole lot of like revenue or anything like that. It was more because their developer like had his life sort of come in, right? Like so he had a daughter and then he had a full-time job he was managing and he just couldn't afford to keep updating the app. So he
mhm.
wanted to hand it off to someone else. So that someone else ended up being me after some chats. And so for the last month, I've been sort of juggling this like place where I'm running Tabletop Mirror, but I'm also running Rollgate. And the reality is, we do everything Rollgate does already on Tabletop Mirror. And after using Rollgate for a bit, we kind of do it better in the sense that like we have support for things that they lock behind paywalls. We have a much faster system overall. Like things take about a couple seconds to load on Rollgate. We aim for sub zero point 0.1 seconds for everything that is on Tabletop Mirror. So there's a lot of like reasons that we recently actually like just this week we announced Project Hedron. Project Hedron is our sort of like name for our project to combine the platforms.
Mhm.
Um, and the special secret part is that's actually going to be our future name. So the combined platform of Rollgate, Tabletop Mirror is going to be called just Hedron. And we're going to do everything for any sort of game. It's sort of like polyhedron, like a dice. We will
Yeah.
do it all. If it involves dice, that's what we do. And thanks to our stretch goal, it'll also be if it involves cards. That's also what we do.
Okay, now I'm actually gonna get this edited and done within the next like 10 days so that I get the scoop on it before.
Oh yeah, you could do it before anyone else. Yeah, go for it.
Um, okay, wow. A
We
real
will be announcing this publicly right at the end of our backer kit. So if you could beat us there, go for it. But that's a
Mate,
challenge.
you know what? Challenge accepted. Hey folks, we'll see in the future if I actually did it or not. But um, okay. So, well, actually, first off, I've asked this question a couple of times, like, "Hey, you got any secrets to tell me?" And people usually don't. So I was like, "Ooh, really? Okay." So first off, great job on that one. So I think my like kind of next question is. So one of the things that like made me really excited about this was the bit about like, hey, if you want to build your own system, you can keep everything here. I primarily write stuff for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. However, I am an aspiring like indie designer. I have like a little guy floating somewhere that needs a complete rework and like other little guys and other systems bouncing around in my head and stuff that I'm like, Google Drive is good and everything, but maybe there needs to be somewhere else. So I guess my question is, what is so let's say you have like a completely new completely somebody's completely new to game design and whatnot, sees that your like tabletop mirror can help facilitate like the building out of that. What are some like first time tips you'll give like a designer in conjunction with using it on tabletop mirror?
Uh, that's a good question. So Tabletop Mirror is, I will say there's a learning curve. I'm not going to tell you there's not. I mean, we're avoiding programming. We're a code-free platform after all, but we still have a bunch of forms and stuff we have to figure out. I would say, so just last night, actually, I completed a guide called The Practical Example of Building 5e. So obviously no one has to build 5e because we provide it as like a platform, as in everyone can just plug into it anytime, even homebrewers. But what what that guide was built for was it's a practical step-by-step how to from start to finish build 5e. So it kind of walks through a lot of different functionalities of our rule set editor and how to like set things up. And I think from what I've been hearing from people who have been looking at it during early access and now looking at it as it's actually launched, uh, the guide has been exceptionally helpful to a lot of people. So I would say if you're brand new to the platform and you want to build a system, start there. Start with the 5e guide. Um, if you click on the question mark in the top right of our site, it takes you to our full list of guides and docs, and it has everything. 5e guide is one of them, and it's definitely, I think, the most comprehensive guide that we've written. It's a really long guide. It's like a 2 hour read, I think, and even that might be an underestimate. But it's because I'm explaining everything like step by step. So
Mhm,
the idea is, and people are reading it, they're not building 5e, they're building their own systems, but they're
mhm,
using the lessons that the 5e guide talks about. Like, so for example, I'll talk through like how do you set up death saving throws? And then they'll be like, oh, well, death saving throws are kind of like this other mechanic in my system, and then they'll adapt it over. And so that's the kind of practical use for it. So I think that's been like if I had to say one thing, that's the number one thing. Like go check out our guides, especially the 5e guide. I'm trying to write a year zero engine guide too in the next like week or so because I've already built the year zero engine in TTM. I know it's possible. It's just a matter of writing a guide to walk through it.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay, well, honestly, I applaud you for like being ahead of the curve on that. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but hearing like, hey, I have like at least a 2 hour long guide that'll walk you through how this is built, so that you can start like looking at it and figuring out how to do it yourself. Wow, like I am so impressed at the like attention to detail that has gone into this VTT. Not don't get me wrong, I know a lot of detail has to go into that, but like that feels like it's more than you're already doing more things than other VTTs are doing. So a final question for you. Uh, as you said, you've already like imported in like you've got the Dungeons and Dragons system and whatnot. Um, any any plans to like partner with any like try and partner with Dungeons and Dragons, try to partner with like other third parties, Cobalt Press, etc. Because for example, I know that let's see, is it Roll? I think it's Roll, yeah, Roll 20, like or other like third party publishers as well, because Roll 20 now has like D&D Beyond or Jesus, D&D Beyond, but also like DM's Guild integration. So for example, like some of the stuff that I sell, you can also be found on Roll20 now to like immediately port that in so people don't have to just go in and be like, okay, so I want to be this custom thing. Like I gotta do all the like extra work. It's already there.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so we're talking about it behind the scenes. Not like it's like a secret. It's like I've been taking suggestions from the community about like which publishers to reach out to and all that. I think the main thing that stopped us to this point is a lot of publishers are going to ask us for like how do we sell our content on your platform, and so that's what we're calling the marketplace. And the marketplace is actually one of the actual goals of our 2500 like goal for our backer kit. So now that we've hit it, I have no doubt we're going to like put it in. It was always going to be put in at some point. It was just a matter of when. But now I'm basically able to prioritize it and get it done soon. So the answer is like soon we'll have the marketplace, and then that means soon after that we're going to be reaching out to publishers and getting them on board. We might reach out to some of them even preemptively, just as like a hey, we're about to do this. Do you want to be like part of the launch, so to speak? And so we already have Eldritch Automata, which I consider a publisher. We have a few, like most of my community are building their own systems in various degrees at various stages of building it. And obviously, I myself, when I see some small publisher like putting out their product, there's always like a 100K stretch goal to get it on Alchemy, and I'm just like, hey, I could give it to you for free right now, like if you want. And that's sort of like the vision I have, like holistically, is like I want it to like whether you're a small publisher or a big publisher, you can have a VTT from day one.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And I'm sitting over here as a small like designer who like I was like, oh man, the possibilities that opens up. Because again, like the some of the stuff that I have on like Roll20 is only there through me selling through the DM's Guild, which has its own like guidelines and stuff around it. And Fantasy Grounds, like when they are like, hey, do you want to put this on like that kind of thing? But just being able to be like, I'm me, I've got this thing over on itch. I'd like to put it in here and potentially get some like functionality for it specifically in the VTT. That is amazing.
Yeah, that's our big goal. Actually, like there's a quick mention. We have a strong policy about everything you create is yours. Like that, it's in our terms of service. So you can literally read. There's a whole section about it where it's like, yeah, everything you make on our platform is yours. Like even our staff cannot look at your stuff without you giving permission. So we have full privacy controls at all time. You can change your mind anytime. It's very easy, and that's sort of like the foundation of a lot of our processes. Is you're in control, not us.
Yeah, that's excellent. That is amazing. All right. Well, we are running out of time a little bit. I know, folks, the woes of an unpaid Zoom subscription. Any any final words you want to leave our viewers and listeners with?
I just want to say thank you for anyone who's tuning into this. I mean, obviously, this is helpful for VJH, but it's also helpful for us. Like, as in, it's just we're trying to get our name out, trying to show people like what we're trying to do, and really, I just want to say thank you for listening, and hopefully, I'll see you on the platform sometime.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm hopping over there real quick and fast. I'm gonna be very real. I'm a little tired of Roll20, and I'm struggling a little bit with other VTTs, like, okay, this is a little harsh for me. So we'll see if this one's better. I already kind of think it's going to be, and folks, you'll get to hear and or see me talk about and kind of go through this VTT as well. If you're listening to this over on VJ Talks, come check out the actual the video over on VJH Creations YouTube, where it'll probably at certain points, if not at the end of it, or linked, have a video of me literally going through the whole platform as well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you everybody for listening. Catch you later. Hello, folks. I'm back once more, which is different from how VJ Talks usually ends, but I just wanted to remind you, in case you forgot over the course of this video, if you're going to PAX Unplugged, Hedron is going to be there. They're going to have their new set of dice out, and if you're watching this on my YouTube, you should be seeing an image here as well of the dice, so make sure to get them while you're there. And if you can't get them there, or you can't go to PAX, like me, unfortunately, they will be shipping them everywhere afterwards, so make sure to save up a couple bucks so that you can get this dice line. Like I always say, you can never have too many dice. Thank you so much for being here. Catch you later.